Okay, thank you for coming tonight. We will call the regular council meeting for Tuesday, October 18th, 2022 to order. If you will all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. The next item is to approve an amended agenda. We added an item number 8 under new business, which will be approving the purchase of an Axion and system and thermal imaging using ARPA funding for the police department. So can I get a
So move.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The second item is the consent agenda. And if there are any questions or problems or anything, otherwise I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So move.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Moved. The next item is open forum. And this is a chance for anyone in the public to make a public comment. You have 5 minutes. We'll give you 5 minutes to do so. If it's an item that's on the agenda, we will give you time to do it when that item comes up. So public forum is now open. Is there anyone that wishes to address the council? Seeing none, we will close public comment. The next item under open forum is the pickle annual presentation. Mr. Wallin.
There we go. All right, good evening, everyone. So I ran some numbers yesterday. And the off sale is down 34,000 compared to this date last year. And on sale is up 66,000. Two of the main factors for my off sale being down is the off sale has been selling a lot of allocated bourbons. And where we'd usually get a case of Blanton's every month, we're down to 1 bottle. Oak barrels statewide and nationwide are hard to get right now. So what a lot of people are doing now, it's called bottled and bond. Let's say Iowa or Wisconsin, they'll take their mash, make their bourbon. It has to be 100%. The ingredients have to be 100% used from that same year. And that's how they're getting more bourbon produced right now. Not saying it's as good as the allocated bourbons, but we're actually trying to sell it in the bar right now. We got some Cedar Ridge out of Wisconsin, got some Widow Jane out of Iowa. So we're trying to increase sales that way. But otherwise for the year, we're looking pretty good. Budget wise, I've only got 125,000 left for this year's budget. I got 2.5 months to go, so that should be very attainable. The Pickle Factory is #1 in the state again for raising money for their fire department. This year we raised 19,700. So out of the last 4 years, we've came in first, second once. The reason we came in second last year, there was a private donation for $34,000 for special equipment for a fire department. Otherwise we'd be 4-0. We did some different things this year. Zorba's did a spaghetti feed, full donation. So we did a free will contribution. So we served about 150 dinners that night. And we raised just under $1,000 for that. We also did 20 bottles of white, 20 bottles of red at $20 a bottle. And then we put gift cards in the bag. Those sold out in 15 minutes. And the largest contributor this year was Tito's. They did a Traeger grill, some Yeti coolers, some juicers. And then my beer companies did like golf bags. We did golf packages through Grandview and the Legacy. And then we did the new gravel pit. So people are excited to bid on those. We also had a homemade Crown Royal quilt that one of my customers made. So she'll take the bags that I get from my Crown Royal behind the bar. And she made a really nice quilt. So that went for quite a bit of money too. So all in all, we had 28 auction items. So it turned out really well. This year we're having a large Halloween party planned for Saturday, October 29th. Got the Nisswa plan, so you can come on in and get your Monster Mash groove on and things like that. The theme this year is Star Wars. Don't ask me why. I thought that was an 80s thing, but that's what the band wants to do. They must have already got their R2D2 outfits in or something. I don't know. We had a new back door installed at the Pickle per requirement of the health department. So now the mice can't get in. There was a little hole at the, anyway. And then we had all the door jambs. They fitted all the door jambs, so now you can't see underneath it anymore. But now one of the problems is last night I got a call at 2 a.m. that one of the doors wouldn't, one of the sensors wouldn't work, so the alarm went off. So we're getting that fixed next Tuesday. I think that's all I have. If you guys have any questions.
Thank you very much for all the work you did with the fire department. Thank your staff too. You
Yeah.
guys really knock that one out of the park every year.
Yeah, it's a good time. It really is. Everybody gets, for a small town, we're beating towns of Eden Prairie and all these larger cities. It's crazy.
They don't have a pickle factory.
No, and I do want to thank you guys too. We had a meeting last Wednesday at the Little Round Still. It's the MMBA, MLB, and we met with some legislators. One manager there said they're on their third mayor this summer. And the last thing that he did was fire the city administrator before he left. Another municipal, they put in cameras behind the bar. So 2 of their city councils, instead of watching Wheel of Fortune at night, they watch the bar. And then they call the manager and say, hey, this might not be what they're supposed to be doing back there. And yeah, so I'm very fortunate to have a city council like you guys, that it's easy to work with, because there's some cities out there having a really, really hard time right now.
Well, we appreciate all you guys do.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Report, city administrator.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Good evening, members of the council. I have my monthly report in the packets and I don't have anything additional unless you have questions for me. Thank you.
Anyone? City attorney.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have anything to report tonight.
City engineer.
Good evening, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I don't have.
That brings us on to new business. Got to keep up with my back there. Here we go. First item on new business is the Brainerd J.C.'s temporary liquor license, temporary beer license agreement for Grand Brew Fest.
Mayor, I'll move that we accept the application and approve it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Recommendation from the Planning Commission reference preliminary plat Roy Ridge.
I can take this
Yep.
for you if you'd like. So this is a recommendation that came from the Planning Commission for a preliminary plat 027-222 Roy Ridge First Edition. We do have the applicants here to answer any questions, but essentially this is to correct and adjust some lot lines and to clean up some issues that had been created over time. And so there isn't anything new being proposed. I don't believe. This is just to correct and make everything a little more clean and appropriate for all of the homeowners. I think that's hopefully a correct reflection of the project. I'm ad-libbing for Bethany tonight, so.
Okay,
So I move that the city council approve the replat of Roy Ridge from the Homeowners Association, as per the planning commission, recommendation dated October 4th of this year.
I have a
Second.
second by Jesse. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Recommendation from planning commission reference, planning commission appointment.
Mr. Mayor, as you know, we have not had a full planning commission for quite some time. We finally did have an applicant come and meet with us. Sean Weldon, he's owns a business here in town. And the planning commission approved recommending him for the position unanimously. So Sean Weldon, and his application would be, his term would end in 2025 if approved.
I also know Sean Weldon. He's a good man. I think he'd be a good addition. And it'd be nice to see the planning and zoning committee get further and further back to full strength.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we go ahead and accept. Sean, as presented, let's see, with the open planning commission seats as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those, excuse me, in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution to join greater or coalition of greater Minnesota cities.
Thank you. This request is to, as I noted in my memo, there are two organizations statewide that represent the interest of smaller cities and cities within greater Minnesota, which is outside the 7-county metro area. And to be a member of the coalition, they have requested council adoption approval of the resolution, which is the last page of this packet item, and the dues that would be reflected have been included in our 2023 budget as from a preliminary standpoint, and they are scaled for the first 4 years so that you can phase in and not have the full dues amount until the 4th year. And so it's my recommendation tonight.
What's really the difference between the two?
There is a lot of similarities. I think that the small cities, referencing their name, they're focusing on only small cities. The
Mhm.
coalition is greater Minnesota, so that could include some larger cities, but not within the metro area. So there can be slight differences depending on the advocacy that they do. Would be a slightly different, but for example, they were both very active in working through the local government aid formula efforts this past legislative session, which benefits a large segment of greater Minnesota for all cities. We don't get LGA, but it is a benefit to the area.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Considering the discussion we had earlier about budget, I wonder if we approve this, if we could authorize it to be paid out this year's funds if available instead of waiting till next year.
Is that possible to do? We have.
That's a great suggestion. Certainly can do that. Yes.
I don't see a reason why we can't do that. So there's not there is kind of a duplication of effort here between Bladek and everyone else and them, or no?
No, not with Bladek. Bladek's more local to the Greater Lakes area, economic development.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that the city council approve the resolution, join the coalition of greater MN cities with the dues for 2023 to be paid from this year's budget.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approve proposal for audit services, council action. This is our annual audit that they'll do next January, February, right, for this year.
Yes, early in 2023. For 2022, they requested to just do a 1-year proposal as they are also working through the challenges with rising costs and things. So doing it 1 year at a time, at least for this next year, was their preference. In 2021, because we had a single audit addition with our sewer expansion project, we spent $19,500. So their quote reflects a slight decrease. I think that's potentially because we don't have as many reporting requirements coming up for the 2022 year.
Okay.
So
Does anybody have any other questions for Jenny? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
So I'll move that we approve the Irene and Schindler Weiner and Company to do the auditing for the city of Nisswa next year in the amount of $17,600.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approve mediated settlement agreement. This would be the matter that was brought forth by the Clark Lake Association, correct?
Yep, residents within that area, yes. So this settlement agreement has been agreed to by all parties. The city was just basically trying to facilitate the agreement between the two. So as long as both of those parties were satisfied, the homeowners association and the Lake Association, and it was reasonable, the city, our attorney Justin Templin was in favor of that and recommends approval of this.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the city council approve the mediated settlement agreement on the Clark Pine Trail Homes development as presented, and authorize the mayor to sign such documents as may be necessary.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Crow Wing County request for feedback reference short-term rental ordinance. I did ask Jenny about this. To my knowledge, we haven't received any complaints. You were gonna ask, I think, Craig or the chief.
Correct. To the best that I know, we have not received many if at all the last couple of years. So things have been going well at this point for our city. The county ordinance and their licensing system has worked well. I certainly think that the things they're looking at would be a benefit, limiting occupancy, slightly decreasing that per room, having more quiet hours and things like that are just good benefits to the neighborhood and the overall function of the ordinance and the licensing process itself. But we haven't had issues. I do know that other cities have had some challenges, and so trying to find that balance for the county about do they continue to administer, do they just let it go back to the local cities is something that they're working through, and they wanted our feedback if we had anything to share. So I thought I'd open it up to the council for questions, comments, feedback. Happy to help.
Does anybody have anything that they've heard about? I have heard nothing.
Me neither.
I haven't.
Go ahead and say it.
The only thing I heard is the occupancy on the 3 people per bedroom plus 1 additional per the unit. So someone said, so let's say the rental has 3 bedrooms, single beds per, so that'd be 10 people in that home. Where would they all be sleeping? That was the only concern I had, or that I heard, but I don't find that to be an issue.
Don't see that. They want to sleep on the floor. That's okay
Right.
with me.
I think some of that was around ensuring size of septics were adequately sized. If there were a continuous number of large groups of people, that there was just an imbalance with the occupancy from that respect. I think that's what they were trying to get a little bit closer to. How do we match those two things? But yes, I mean, if there aren't beds available, you'd think that would be what they would rent to, but sleeping bags and blow up mattresses and things, I suppose, are part of that as well.
I'm guilty of doing that myself, so.
So they're asking for a council action motion.
They're asking for feedback. There was a public comment period, and they received lots of feedback from the a general public and also some area cities already, but they wanted to make sure to reach out specifically to cities, which I appreciate that being proactive. So I thought the timing was right to just give the council an opportunity. If you had feedback or concerns, I would relay it to them. If not, I can say that we haven't had any issues at this time.
My 2 cents, if it isn't broken, don't fix it, seems to be working well for our area, for us. The only thing I would ask is if they're receiving complaints about places inside of Nisswa, that they would share that information with us. That's all. People are probably may call the county and figure that's handled, so. I don't know if anyone else has anything else.
I don't.
So are we okay just letting them know that we don't have a problem with how they're doing it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Number 8, purchase of the access system and thermal imaging using ARPA funding. This was what we discussed at the workshop. So to purchase these 2 items, which would remove them from the wish list of the police department, so they can. Anyway, we had that discussion. Is there anyone like entertain a motion, or do we want to discuss it more?
Also move approval.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Old business is none. Council reports. The only thing I have is, since we're working through our current budgeting process and stuff, we whittled our 19% that we set the preliminary levy at down at the workshop. I encourage all the council members, everyone, to get a hold of your various departments that you are liaisoned with. And if there's anything else that we can do, I know the city administrator will be reaching out. We're at that time of the year where we may be able to purchase some of those things with remaining funds from this year. They'll work on that, but just please touch base with those department heads that you liaison to, and just make sure that we're not missing something. And I realize they're not getting everything they want, but it's one of those years. So that's all I have. Don,
Nothing.
Jesse,
I have nothing.
Art,
Nope, nothing.
No.
okay. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Stand adjourned.